Hey guys, let's tweet out the link.
Tweet it out.
Sad link tweet out. All right. All right. All right. We ready to roll? I don't have much in me, so we may as well get rolling.
Let us do it.
Yes. Wallow together. All right. Here we go. Sip of water. I love all of you.
Dude, my lips were so chapped all day. It was
Dude,
unbearable.
my voice is finally going. I'm just
I'm
spent.
sure that's what people are upset about right now. But
Yes. All
all
right,
right.
here we go. Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. Elliot Shore Parks, James Seltzer with you after, simply put, the worst loss of my lifetime, I think, personally, at least in terms of pain in the moment, the way the game ended, the missed opportunities, the way it feels like the Eagles were absolutely the better team tonight, and they didn't win, and the opportunities were right there, and then we'll get into it all, and obviously it doesn't just come down to one play, but for it to end like that in the ref's hands, it's just a tragedy. It is, because that was on its way to being one of the all-time great Super Bowls, legitimately, like not just Eagles lore, like a classic, an NFL all-time classic. And it was ruined. It was ruined by the end. And now this whole season, that, look, I know that the future is bright, and we'll talk about how amazing Jalen was and how amazing he is the person and everything he had to say and how exciting it is that he's our guy and all that. But I just feel none of that tonight. And I know we'll get there, but I feel none of it. I feel cheated. I feel devastated. And it just feels like this whole season that was such an amazing ride. And, eventually I'm sure we'll look back on fondly, but right now I feel sick to my stomach about the whole thing. It feels like we were cheated. And it's just devastating. That's where I'm at right now. That's how I feel. And
Yeah.
I love everyone here. I love everyone on the ride, and there's going to be a lot more fun in the future. But right now, I'm just I don't feel any of that right now.
So I'm sitting here in the stadium, in a box that I think was maybe a coach's box, and I'm overlooking the field, and the field is covered in red and yellow confetti. It is covered with Chiefs players and staff members and fans celebrating and taking pictures and throwing the confetti up. And the only thing I can feel is just, this isn't what I should be looking at. Like this isn't how this was supposed to end. It feels, honestly, like while this was happening, it felt like watching a movie, in the way that you kept thinking, well, okay, they're gonna win. Like, wow, this is a crazy game and what a movie, but they're gonna win, right? And then you see the clock ticking down, and we'll get into specifics and stuff, but being in the locker room after the game, being around Nick Sirianni, being around Jalen, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, like, it didn't feel like what I was supposed to be doing. It didn't feel like that was how it was supposed to end. And, I thought coming into the game, and we talked about it for 2 weeks, like, it's a game they could have lost. The Chiefs are an awesome team. But even when you say those things, and even when it's a reality, and like you said, there'll be time to talk about the future and everything, like tonight's not the night for that. It's just hard. It's like unbelievable to look at with my own two eyes, that like the confetti's not green and white, and that the people out down there aren't like Sirianni and his kids rolling around in it, and Jalen and his girlfriend. Like, it's just an unbelievable ending. We talk a lot about how we'll look at the Parks app during games, and say, okay, so here's how you should feel. I mean, at halftime, they were like -8 and -500 on the money line. I mean, they were supposed to win that game. And what's crazy is they didn't lose it in any crazy fashion. It wasn't like the 28-3 loss by the Falcons. It wasn't like pick sixes and crazy plays. They just blew it in the final, quarter and a half or whatever. And it was incredibly uncharacteristic by the team. The Jalen fumble, incredibly uncharacteristic. I didn't think Sirianni was that good in terms of just in-game management stuff. Not going for it on fourth down, like, uncharacteristic. I mean, to give up 182 yards to Mahomes through the air, and we'll get into the defense, and I'm not going to defend him, but if you would have told me before the game that they gave up 182 passing yards, I would have said, yeah, they won that game. We talked all week about how this team, if they get a lead, they're so good at holding it, and they didn't hold it. Like, it's just, it's kind of like, you remember the Friday Night Lights where they lose, right? And you look around and the players are sitting at the 1 yard line and the music's sad, and like, that's what it felt like watching it live in person. I can't speak to how on TV it felt. I'm sure people turned it off, but watching Jalen walk off the field with everyone celebrating on the field, watching Sirianni walk off with Dom, like, sad, watching players sit on the bench. It felt like a sad ending of a movie. And it doesn't mean we can't look back at the movie fondly. It doesn't mean any of those things. It's just, it's a really sad ending to think that we started this day, me and you on the radio, talking about how much it means to everybody. And I feel bad for everybody out there, because everyone, including the players, the fans, the coaches, the staff members, the callers, everybody deserved a better ending than that.
Yeah, like it's a great way to put it. You know, this season deserved a better ending. You know, this pod should have been a different pod. Honestly, it's the closest I've come to crying at a loss since Joe Carter. I have not cried at a sports loss since Joe Carter when I was 12 years old. You know, like, I've cried with a win. But I really almost, well, because again, like, I keep coming back to just feeling so cheated out of what should have and could have happened. And again, there's obviously so much blame to go around. Obviously, the Jalen fumble was a big play, but I mean, Jalen was unbelievable.
Jalen was unbelievable.
He made
unbelievable plays
on the world stage. Like, the drive to tie it went down 8, 2-point conversion. Like, he was unbelievable. But I mean, just, you know, look, we talked about the special teams. It actually came back to bite him, the punter,
in like the worst way possible. And, you know, the Gannon against the good quarterback stuff and against the run and the defense, just, you know, it happened again. It was, you know, all the things that we were like, oh, that is the fear, but we don't expect it to happen. And then on top of that, they still were there, and they still had it. And again, like, I know it doesn't come down to that last call, but, you know, we'll never forget that call. And it's just, that was like, just to end the Super Bowl on that call. Like, really NFL, like that. Even, you know, it wasn't just Eagles fans outraged. I mean, LeBron James is out there outraged. Like, like, people work for Kirk Herbstreit was tweeting what a disaster. Or like, all these people like work for the NFL. Like, it was a joke. It's an embarrassment. Like, that is an absolute embarrassment. Honestly, I think it's one of the biggest embarrassments in the history of the NFL from an on-field perspective. There's obviously a lot off the field that the NFL should be embarrassed about and the way they handle things. But in terms of on the field, that was one of the biggest embarrassments in the history of the NFL, in my opinion, to let the Super Bowl, an all-time great potentially Super Bowl, end like that, and to not, you know, give Jalen a chance to try and win the game, to try and tie the game. Like, it's just it just adds to it. Like, losing alone and losing a close game is devastating. But if they had, you know, gotten that first down and just kicked a field goal, it's like, yeah, that sucks, but at least you feel like you got beat. Like, yeah, that you could say the Eagles got beat in a lot of ways, but for it to end like that, it's just such a sour, horrible taste. And again, I feel cheated as an Eagles fan. I think NFL fans got cheated again out of what could have been an amazing end to an all-time great NFL game and the biggest of games. So, yeah,
I mean, you know, I'm just, it's just devastating, man. Like, I honestly mean it. I thought about this. I tweeted this before, and I was like, I think it might be, and I've thought about it since. It's the worst loss of my lifetime in terms of pain, in terms of sadness, in terms of feeling it's the wrong outcome, in terms of feeling cheated. Like, it is the worst loss of my lifetime. Flat out.
And I think, you know, I haven't spent time thinking about it, but I can't imagine there is one, because they had it. Like, Brandon Graham said after the game, like, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, you know, they could taste it. You know, like, it was there. Like, they were up 10 at halftime again. And I know people, if you don't gamble, you don't know, but like, minus 500 is like an insane favorite. Like, to be minus 500 in something, you should win that game 9 out of 10 times. Like, it's up on the screen like something like 41 of the last 56 Super Bowl winners were winning at halftime. Like teams that are up 10 at halftime shouldn't lose that game. Like they just shouldn't. And it felt like they outplayed them overall. Now, the Bradbury call, I think what sucks about it most is once that happens, the game is over. You know, like it's just killing clock until basically they kick it. Like Brad, I don't know what you've seen on Twitter after the game, but Bradbury said he did hold
I
him.
saw it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, come on, that play happens 20 times during game, that exact play, and they don't call it. And to call it in that, like, I know that it should be like, oh, it should always be a penalty in every situation, but that's not the way the league works. They could call holding on every single play if they wanted to. Like, you have to be aware of the moment, and you have to be aware of the situation. And again, other than Chiefs fans, there was not a single person watching the game who was happy with that call. Like nobody is. Like that's it's earmuffs. 1, 2, 3. It's a shitty way for the season to end. A shitty way.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And for us to be that team and for it to be a gut punch loss like that for us, it's like it's going to be hard to get over. We'll never get over it in reality, but like in terms of, being able to like again, like I'm devastated. I don't want to go work tomorrow. I don't want to do the radio show. Like I don't want to talk about
it's not going to be a fun day.
Like I'm cooked. I'm mentally, emotionally, physically like just beat, and like this sucks. That's how I feel.
And I think what sucks about it too is like being in the locker room after looking at the players, being at the Super Bowl, spending this whole week out there in Phoenix, like it's just going to be so like they were so close. Like it's so hard to get this close, like doesn't mean they can't do it next year. It doesn't mean the future's not bright. And they said like, we'll be back. And I believe them. Like, I think this team has a good chance to go to the Super Bowl next year, but like to be that close, to be that close and to not get it, like you only get so many of those chances. And again, to be up 10 at halftime, it's crazy. And what the other crazy thing is when the Chiefs went up, I forget what the exact score is, but I think it was maybe like 28 or no, it was 35-27 or whatever it was. Like being in the stadium, it felt like it was over. Like even
it felt like that at home too. It felt like that at home too.
It felt tense. It like my friends texting me were like, oh, well, whatever, like season over. But then what's crazy is they get the Devontae thing, like the Devontae long throw, they score, and then you're like, well, they're right back in it and it's tied. And I thought that there was the sequence to me that lost the game was the defense allows a long drive for a touchdown, which by itself is bad. But at that point, you're like, that's bad, but whatever. Then the offense goes 3 and out. They punt the ball. So the 3 and out is really bad, right? The 3 and out is really bad. Yeah. Yep. And then I would have gone for it on 4th and 2. I know you're in your own at field, but I think me, you, and Jack were texting at the time and saying how much it reminded us of the 17 Super Bowl. Like Doug went for it on 4th and 2.
Yep.
Like Doug went for it on 4th and 2. And I don't remember if the situations were exactly.
It was probably like 6 or 7 yards further up the field. I feel like Doug was at his own like 35.
And I think it was earlier in the game.
Yeah, it was not. It was Doug's was later in the game. Doug's 4th down was like 7 minutes left or something. This was more with like 12 or 10 or whatever it was.
So like Nick should have gone for that. The offense was, I know they had just had 3 bad downs, but like they're moving the ball relatively well. Jalen was really clutch on big plays today. Like the 2 throws he had back on back.
Dude, he was amazing. Yeah, the 3rd and 14 and 3rd and 11 were
any better. Couldn't throw them any better.
And he had big runs on there. Like he was, I'm with you. I think you have to go. I don't think they lose because of that call. I don't think it's. I thought it was a bad call. Moments, but it was not the right call. I thought he had some other good calls, like 4th and 5, and some other spots where it was risky. But I agree with you.
So then the offense goes 3 and out. He doesn't go for it. He punts it. Obviously, like the punt return, clearly a devastating play in the game. And then the Chiefs score, and like from there, it felt over. Like when that happened, I should have opened the Parks app then. But like when that happened, like I thought that was the whole game because. Outside of that, like the Jalen fumble early on was bad, obviously, for sure. He dropped the ball and they scored. But, it felt like they were still in it. Like Jalen rebounded from that, right? So
they ended up being up 10 at halftime.
Yeah, being 10 at halftime.
Yeah, they scored right away the next drive. Like,
what'd you think of the Miles play that was a touch that was like
I thought it was not a fumble. I thought it was the right call. He didn't make a move.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was the right call for sure. I thought the Devontae call was the wrong call. I thought that should have been a catch, and that was a massive call too. And look, I
Yeah.
get it was close, but to me, that was absolutely a catch. Like it reminded me of the Clement touchdown in the last Super Bowl, like where it was moving a little bit, but like he had the ball like that, he
Yeah.
caught it. But again, all those calls pale in comparison to that last one. And I thought Nick and Stegan had some bad play calls in big spots. Obviously, I think that hurt Sneak. I think it wasn't just the fumble that was bad. I thought the play call there was horrendous too. Like in that spot, I thought they were maybe shockingly enough a little over reliant on the run in certain situations that they shouldn't have been late. But again, look, I can't. Outside the Hurts fumble, I can't kill the offense for this. And I think there's a lot of factors, special teams, the refs, but I think the defense came up massively, massively small. I mean, we talked about this defense being the one of the great pass rushes in the history of the sport, and they had no sacks and they barely had pressure,
and they barely got pressure. Yep.
They were neutralized, and they got ran on by Andy freaking Reid, man. And like I just it was the exact thing that we all were afraid of with Gannon, that we all thought we were past, like the Gannon defense. And look, the players deserve the blame too. They were bad, but it just wide open on both touchdowns. Both those the Sky Moore and the other one, whatever, just completely wide open. Tony. Yeah, it just and again this down the field, can't get a stop when you need it most. And it was infuriating. It was infuriating.
And especially like you see Mahomes injure his ankle and then he's just running all over the place in the second
exactly.
half. Oh, God. And so there's a lot of people in my mentions now being like, oh, like you compared Hurts to Mahomes. Like, how dumb do you look? Like, I don't think I look dumb. Like
Hurts was amazing. What are you talking about?
An outstanding game tonight. And yeah, Mahomes won. And I never said Hurts was a better quarterback.
And credit to Mahomes. Mahomes was amazing. Like
he was really good. He was absolutely
really good. But he wasn't better than Jalen. Like outside the fumble, like you can't.
Well, the fumble was a big play. But yeah,
it is. But I think Jalen, outside of the fumble, which again does matter, I think he outplayed Mahomes. I think he was better than Mahomes overall. And obviously the number, I mean, Jalen threw for 304, ran for 70 yards, had 3 rushing touchdowns. And
he outgained the entire Chiefs offense in the first half.
Amazing. Again, both quarterbacks put on a show. And that, again, it's one of those things where that, you feel robbed that we didn't get Jalen with the ball with a chance to go down the field and tie the lead after what should have been a field goal to go up 3 with like a minute something left. Like it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's a shame.
So, like, we don't have to get into, what percentage is the deep, like, whatever. Like, we don't have to get into that.
Look, we're going to do another pod later in the week where we get into a lot more than nitty gritty and the decisions and react more. Like, first of all, again, I'm cooked. But also I can't think about, I can't really I want.
Well, no, what I was going to say about that was like, to me, this isn't taking blame away from anybody. I just like what sucks about the way they lost is it just felt like everybody had a hand in it to an extent. And like, the special teams, the fumble for the touchdown, it felt like a little bit of everything. Like, I feel like everybody, look, the special teams gets an F. Like, that's unacceptable. It's one play, whatever. But like, they were right there. It wasn't like the defense was a complete no-show. It wasn't like Jalen completely like earmuffs 1, 2, 3, shit the bed. Like they had quality moments on both sides of the ball. Like I just can't believe they blew it. Like,
well, the defense in the second half had no quality moments.
And no, I know, but in the first
the
half,
defense didn't pressure the quarterback, didn't create turnovers. Like all the things that this defense that made them great this year, they didn't do it. They didn't do it, and ultimately, if we're assigning blame on this, I think the defense gets a large share of the blame, certainly way more than the offense. Again, outside of the Hurts fumble, and that 1 3 and out, you could say that the third down, get mad at Samalo for the third down false start. That was obviously a big play. There's stuff you can point to, but man, the Eagles scored points. They moved the ball. They, they scored 35 points on offense. Like I can't put this on them. Like this to me is on the defense. It's on the special teams and it's on the refs. As much as I hate to say that, that's who this game is on to me.
Yeah. So
And the
a lot
coaching, obviously Gannon big time. And to your point, I don't think Sirianni was awful. Like, I don't think Sirianni had a bad Super Bowl, but I certainly don't think he had a good one. And I don't think he
just didn't feel like
helped them with it.
himself. He didn't feel like he coached like he normally does. Like, so this didn't come across live as much, but I guess it did on TV. Like, a lot of the play calls they were much more closer to the wire.
Oh, dude, it was unbelievable. It was like every play, it was down to the end. I mean, they got that delay a game with the timeout. That was a big play, all that stuff. Like,
yeah. So
it was constant.
Scott in the chat says this. I'm assuming it's correct.
Yeah, I saw this stat.
Most by a losing team in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I mean, that jives, you would think if
they would have gotten absolutely there. Correct.
And man, like what really, correct. I mean, again, like the special teams to give that up, like
just
I think the defense wasn't playing well, so they probably would have scored either way. Like they probably would have go down the field. But I think if you'd have told me the offense was going to score 35 points and that the defense was going to give up, legitimately 24 points, and then we can debate it would have been more, whatever. Like, obviously I would have said, well, it's 35-24, but I'm just surprised that the things that happened, like Jalen fumbling that ball and it being returned. As much as we talked about the special teams eventually killing them, the fact that they actually gave up that long return was like still wild to see, So again, if you'd have told me before the game, Jalen was going to have 4 total touchdowns, the offense was going to put up 35 points, and the defense was going to hold the Chiefs offense to 24 points, I would have never in a million or, whatever, I would have never in a million years thought they lost that game. That the Chiefs, like the odds that I would have taken on the Chiefs scoring a touchdown would have been insane. Like their defense, I mean, like I would have thought there was no shot that the Chiefs were going to get a touchdown that way. And I really think, like, again, seeing Brandon Graham afterwards, and like he has a suit on that you could tell he was going to wear to celebrate in, but instead he only has on part of it. Like Jalen doesn't have his jacket on because he's not in the MVP room. Like there was a moment where someone asked me, like, where's Jalen going to speak? And they're like, well, last time Nick spoke at the podium, Nick Foles. And I was like, well, yeah, he was MVP. Like just like there were just little things like that where it was just a feeling of shock, and like the whole vibe of the locker room and the podium guys was just like, this isn't what should be happening. Like this isn't how it should be going down right now. So I don't know how else to phrase it other than that. Like I'm still sitting here watching all the Chiefs people celebrate the confetti and all that stuff, and it just feels like it should have been the Eagles. It should have been the Eagles, and there'll be pods later in the week for this stuff, and I do still feel that the way I do. Like I'll always remember this season fondly because of the callers and the fun ride with you and the greatness and all those things, but it is like a movie where it ends and you're like, wow, I can't believe they lost. Like, it doesn't mean you'll never watch the movie again, but it is a craziness that
that
the confetti is not green and white, and that there's not going to be a parade, and that I'm not going to do a pod tomorrow talking about the game, and I'm not going to be on the radio talking about is Howie in the Hall of Fame, and like it feels like those should be the things we're talking about. Instead, we're talking about that they lost, and that it was not. It's crazy to actually happen. Like, we talked a lot. Like I was thinking they could lose, whatever, but I, for some reason, never actually envisioned what it would look like if they lost. And it's just crazy to actually be seeing it with my own 2 eyes.
Yeah. And for it to happen again, the way it did, like there's just no way around it. Both, the frustration of the defense not being able to get a stop when they need it, the frustration of seeing Tony running down the field on that punt return in that spot, the frustration of the Jalen fumble, which almost felt like a mistake. I was like, this has to be a mistake. Like that was
right.
Like,
what's crazy is the Chiefs didn't even play that well.
I know, that's my point, man. That's what makes it so much more frustrating. And again, for it to come down to ending like that, like, it's like, look, if they had lost, no matter what, with the way we felt, the confidence we had going in, I think no matter what, if they had lost, it would have felt weird because we would have felt like this season didn't deserve to end this way. But because of how the game played out, and particularly how the last minute, 2 minutes played out, it just feels so much worse. It feels that much worse. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's going to take a while. I'm gutted right now. I really feel gutted about this game. It's the most painful sport. Like it made, like, the World Series feels like nothing compared to this. It was like, oh, the World Series, like that was like what a run. Like, and this was a great run, but like right now I can't think about anything else but the pain. Like the pain, man. It is pain after this one. This
So
It's
let me.
awful.
So I feel like we're probably wrapping this up, right?
Yeah, I'm
But
ready.
like,
I'm ready for
let
bed.
me
I need to
let me
like.
just say
Uh,
one thing. Let me say one thing, okay?
please.
Because look, I think one thing you are elite at is representing how the fans feel. And I think a lot of people are listening to this feeling how you feel. And I think it's important. And I commend you for feeling that, but also representing how people feel. But I also know that both of us deep down in our hearts are eternal optimists. So let me just say one thing, okay? Like, you've listened to 25 minutes of how depressing this was, and it was. And I understand fans feeling upset, and they should. Like, they should feel upset. But I really honestly do think fans should also feel like just proud of the team. It's been an outstanding year. The future is so bright. Jalen is awesome. Nick is a great coach. There is a ton of talent. They lost to a great Chiefs team. They did not lose to a team that in 20 years nobody will remember. They didn't lose to like the Jaguars if they would have gotten through. They didn't lose to like, some one-off team that no one's going to care about. They lost to a great team and they played a great game and they should have won it, right? They should have won it. But I do think that fans should spend Monday feeling sad and upset, but all those things we talked about with people earlier today about what this city means to them and what football means to them and what the moments of watching the games were like with their family and remembering how things have changed and you getting to experience the Super Bowl with Zoe, like none of that changes really. Like the outcome is not what we wanted, but those experiences are there, those memories are there, the season's still there, and we'll still be here. There's still going to be pods, there's still going to be fun times, there's going to be draft picks and rumors, and this will sting. But the reason the Eagles are special and the city is special is because of the community, and the final score doesn't dictate the community. So frustrating loss. Everyone should feel sad, but I promise you guys there are better days ahead. And I would just encourage you feel sad 90% of the time, but spend 10% thinking about how awesome today was and just how awesome, the community is and this thing is. And I love you all. And there will be brighter days.
I wanted to like hate whatever you were gonna say and be like, no, Elliot, not the time. But that was beautiful. And
Thank you.
like I think it's a great message. Like I can't feel it right now. The community thing is that will always be the thing that I think of first and care about most about with this run. It's the most meaningful thing to me, and it makes me so happy to my core. But like, it's going to take a little while to get past this one. But
Yeah.
look, you're right. Time heals all wounds. We've been through tough losses before. We're tough people here in this city, and I know, and again, Jalen, like, wow. I mean, the fact that we have this kid, I mean, he's the best thing to happen to us here in a long time. But I'm going to need some time before I get there. But that is a beautiful message, and I support it. I just can't feel it yet. Is that fair?
Yeah. I completely get it. 100%. My guess is when you go into work tomorrow, you do the show, you talk to the callers, you're around Joe and John, like I think you'll feel better at the end of it. So it's definitely one of those games though. I've had a while since I've had one of these. The last one I had was actually that catch in the Phillies game by that guy from Westchester.
Game 5. Yeah.
But like I think this is definitely one of those games where you get home, you turn the TV on and they're talking about it and you're like, I'm just gonna watch Seinfeld.
Dude, I want
like
nothing. I want nothing to do with it. Like, honestly, anyone listening to this, like, I love you for even.
Dude, we have like 70 people.
You're amazing for having the want to and the love for this to want to listen after that, because this is tough, man. I don't even want to do it, because it just hurts. It hurts to think about. Like, I want to go, bury my face in my pillow and think about something else, and it's just because it's been such a so much of our lives for the last month. It's been everything, and we'll get there. I mean, you're right, we'll get there, but
I have to spend all day in Phoenix tomorrow, so
it's tough, my guy.
Won't be good, but
I'll
wrap it up with, like I said, I love you too, man. I love all you guys. The experience has been awesome. The results sucked, and we'll talk about it later in the week more.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back later in the week. Definitely gonna need a couple days to get my voice back and just kind of be able to not just basically be the most depressing thing you've ever listened to on the next pod too. But we'll talk more about the game. I promise I will bring some real anger for Jonathan Gannon. I just don't have it. I don't have the heart to do it right now. And I will bring some real love for Jalen Hurts, some deep love with with quotes that he said after, and just watching his press conference. This man, this amazing man who was built in a lab to be here in Philadelphia. Like, thank God for you, Jalen Hurts. I love you. I legitimately love you. I do. I really do. But right now we'll get there. But thank you to everyone. Seriously, to Elliot's point, like everyone here watching right now, in the chat, the whole run with the chat, the whole run with meeting people at bars, and people coming out to parks, all that stuff. It's just been it's been everything for us. And like Elliot said, we'll get through this. Better days are definitely ahead, that's for sure. I couldn't ask for a better person to do it with than Elliot, so I feel really lucky about that.
Same to you, man.
All right, go home, get some sleep. I'm gonna get some sleep, and we'll talk to you guys later in the week. And again, thank you to everyone. We love you with all of our hearts, and it's been an amazing season, despite it hurting right now. So until next time, when we'll hurt hopefully a little less. He's Elliot M. James. Love you guys. Thank you so